Hello, my name is Jennifer Nealand. I'm an expressive arts therapist and mindful movement instructor. And today we will have some time to move creatively and have a mindful moment as we go into our holiday season, just to offer ourselves a little bit more resiliency and in preparation for all of our celebrations to add a little bit of creativity into our day. So if you want to join me here, we will be moving from a standing position, but many of these options can also be available in a chair if you want to join me in a chair as well. So first, finding a way for the feet to feel flat on the floor, body to feel equal on the ground beneath us, and taking deep breaths to notice the ground, maybe tapping the toes or slowly moving side to side or forward and back to really feel the ground beneath us. Taking a few breaths here. And then we'll take a few sun breaths. So sun breaths just means to take arms down to the sides, and as we breathe in, reaching up overhead. Big breath here, and then exhale, arms float down. Again, one more deep breath in, moving arms up overhead. And exhale, floating arms down. One more time, and we'll pause at the top here. Full sun breath up, pause at the top. Inhale, reach and draw all four corners out, the full body stretch. Exhale, arms float down. And next we'll move into some movement in the neck and shoulders. So for some of us, we might already have a neck movement that feels best for you. So I encourage you to take that at this time. But for anybody who wants to join me, I'll just drop my chin down to the chest. And then slowly rotate to the four corners of the neck. Taking some breath whenever we feel like it or think of it. Maybe one more round of noticing the four corners of the neck. And then slowly coming to some stillness. Maybe we put some movement into the shoulders, a couple forward shoulder rolls, a couple backward shoulder rolls. And when you feel like your movement in the neck and shoulders is complete, maybe we find some stillness, dropping eyes to the ground or closing eyes completely, taking a breath in, tuning into the body and noticing what movement in this time would feel best for you. This is a space of intuitive movement or authentic movement, listening to the body and recognizing what movement or stretch needs to happen. For me, that feels like a shake, shaking everything out, and you're more than welcome to join me here, shaking out anything that no longer serves us, letting go of any stress that feels like it needs to be let out. And then whenever we feel like that movement is complete, taking another breath. And we'll slowly go into a very quick 6 actions of the spine. So for those of you who have joined us in the ICP, the intensive clinical program, we go over the 6 actions, which are forward and back, side to side, twist and twist. And anytime that we have the opportunity to move our spine, it supports our nervous system to feel safe and calm and relaxed. So an option here might be to take arms out to a T and slowly hug a beach ball in front of us to have that forward motion, drawing the belly button into the spine to engage those abdomen muscles. And then really slowly uncurling, pinching shoulder blades back behind us, lifting chest, raising gaze, mini back bend. And And then maybe another forward motion and one more backwards motion. Dropping arms down, we'll go to the side action. Here it might be nice to plant one arm next to the hip. The other arm on an inhale raises and slowly bending over towards that grounded hand. Noticing that side body stretch. And coming back up whenever ready and switching to the other side. Noticing how you best sink breath into these actions. Exhale down. Last will be our twist and twist, taking arms out to 45 degrees towards the floor. And noticing this alignment in the chin and the chest, slowly turning towards one side of the room. Keeping feet forward and then slowly turning towards the other side of the room. And maybe we take a few more twists. Noticing how you best sink breath in with these actions. One more breath in twisting motion. And then when you feel like your 6 actions are complete, maybe we join each other in another shakeout. Noticing any stress or any worries that no longer serve us and don't need to be with us for the rest of our day. And finally, we'll end today with a box breath. This breath includes an inhale count of 4, holding that inhale for 4, exhaling for 4, and holding that exhale for 4 counts. And this supports the nervous system and helps us to remember that we are safe and we can remain calm and find a little bit more resiliency in our day. So taking a few breaths of natural rhythm. And if you want to join me, we'll do 3 rounds of the box breath. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Last round on your own. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Release the focus of breath, coming back to a natural rhythm. And either continuing to stand or finding a seat, we'll go into a very small creative meditation. Closing eyes or softening gaze. Noticing the breath. Maybe if it's helpful, placing one hand on the chest and one on the stomach to notice the body's movements as we breathe. Tuning into ourselves. As we prepare to begin our holiday seasons, maybe notice where you have found your creativity or your inspiration in the last few days. What feels kind and wonderful to ourselves can offer inspiration and creativity into our preparations for our holiday traditions. Think about some of the ways that you celebrate your own accomplishments. And recall how you celebrate with your loved ones. Do you notice if anything that has inspired you recently can be brought into your holiday preparations or just in this space of a new year approaching? The next breath, notice what have you been grateful for recently. Our inspiration, our gratitude, and our creativity can be brought into so many aspects of our holiday time, of our preparation for the new year. It can be helpful to increase our self-care and resiliency. Can you notice where you might be able to increase your creativity or your inspiration for noticing gratitude around you? When we notice our creativity, our inspiration, our gratitude, it can increase in so many different ways. We can bring that gratitude, that inspiration, our creativity into multiple facets as we approach our holiday traditions and our new year arriving shortly. So taking another deep breath. Recognizing where you can bring forth these aspects. And another big deep breath to find gratitude for yourself. For in this time we might face some challenges, but we also have reason to celebrate. Releasing hands down if you still have them, finding some movement that feels good to bring ourselves back into the space. And although we are not in the same space together, it might be nice for us to connect through a collective breath. So breathing in together, 2, 3, 4, and all the way out, 2, 3, 4. Thank you so much for your time today. My best wishes for your holiday season, your celebrations, and the new year coming. And this practice was not a necessarily traditional yogic practice. It is based in mindful movement, and it is also based in the yogic practice. So we thank ourselves for coming to this space for our own health, and we also thank the traditional practices coming from India and African cultures that provide us inspiration for our yogic, mindful, inspired practice. So thank you so much for your time today. And again, my best wishes for your health and your family's health during this holiday season.
'Tis the season to be stressed. A happy holidays from home base. So what's causing you stress during the holidays? Relationships, maybe finances, maybe feeling overextended, or maybe wondering when COVID's going to be over. And how do people typically cope? Perhaps some drinking, excessive drinking, emotional eating, road rage, drugs, etc. There's many things that we can do in this short presentation, taking lots of deep breaths throughout the day. The reason why we want to do that is we want to take some deep belly breaths to trigger the vagus or vagal nerve to get us into the parasympathetic system that rest and digest. There's lots of little time, even though we're quite busy, but we can think about traffic or red lights as moments for us to practice some minis, some deep breathing, feeling your hand on the steering wheel, being present to what's going on, or maybe even having a cup of warm tea in the morning to start your day. Movement as well. Several different chair yoga postures that you can do right throughout the day. You can put your hands on your knees and you can arch your back as you inhale and round your back as you exhale and do some cat dog poses throughout the day. If any of you are feeling as though your eyes are hurting with so much Zoom strain, you can look in the distance. When you are on Zoom and you're feeling like your eyes are going, you can also rub your hands together and put your hands on your eyes for some warmth and comfort. More tips. Say yes to help, which is hard, especially for so many of us who like to think that we can do everything on our own. We're superwomen and supermen, so saying yes to some help. And learning how to set boundaries, which isn't easy. Everyone expects ho, 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 but sometimes it's okay to say no, no, no. Minimize, cut out the excess, whether it's food, people's, gift, expenses. I think sometimes we feel guilt over the holidays for wanting to show our love with very expensive gifts. And if that's causing us any kind of stress or worry, just kind of start to cut out those extra expenses to make life a little bit more simple for us during this time. Research has shown that helping others in need often reduces our own stress. So certainly there's many people right now during this time, many people are feeling isolated, elderly, volunteering, asking people if they need something, sometimes even a call or seeing if somebody in your neighborhood or building, you can grab something for them when you go food shopping. Give yourself a few minutes of downtime every day, and that might mean that we have to schedule it. We're so used to go, but B isn't always in the calendar. So maybe scheduling that in your calendar. Making a list and looking at the list and seeing sometimes which item on the list is causing you the most stress. And sometimes it helps to start with that so that you break it down, but make your list reasonable, attainable, and really celebrate our accomplishments. It's early December now, so it's a great time to start. If you're someone who usually leaves it to the last minute, maybe just starting ahead and really thinking about it. Starting ahead often helps you to reduce your stress to tackle it early. And so I wish you all a very stress-free holidays here from home base. Happy holidays.
Hey, Home Base Nation. My name is Chris Manzano, and I'm the athletic trainer and one of the strength and conditioning specialists here at Home Base. Today, I'm going to talk to you about movement and exercise during the holidays. With the holidays coming up here in 2021, sometimes our plans can get thrown to the side or our exercise routines go off track just a little bit. And I'm here to tell you that that's okay. There are ways to avoid it, ways to mitigate it, and ways to be flexible around it, right? So when it comes to exercise and movement during the holidays, one of the best things you could do is to plan ahead and to create a flexible plan. Having a flexible plan gives you a little leeway if you miss a session or if you forget to do something for the holidays, or if you have more responsibilities during these holidays, right? Just have a flexible plan to be able to get right back on track if necessary. Another thing you shouldn't do is worry about overcompensating. If you miss a day, don't overdo it the next day, or don't do extra time in the gym or extra movement just because you've missed one day. Just stay on track, because that's the way to really sustain and help those goals come to fruition. Last thing, just no matter what happens, just remember just to get back on track, right? It's gonna happen. Again, having that flexible plan. If you get off track, don't worry, don't overcompensate. Just get back on track, follow the plan that you had originally, and things will come from there. So one of the things that you can do during the holidays, right, is if you can, stick to plan A. That's always the best way to go. But for plan B, if you need to adjust a day, or if you need to lessen some exercise or movement time because you have all those other responsibilities, here are a few things that you can do. First is just stay active. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You can always just move around, whether that's going for a walk, walking the dog a little extra, walking with your family, going outside and playing football during Thanksgiving, right? Just move, just find a way to get that movement in. And that's a good way to still maintain what you've already accomplished, right? You can also do an active recovery day, substitute an exercise day with an active recovery. And all that means is kind of just what I said. Go out for an extra walk, do some yoga, go swimming instead if you have the time and the ability, right? Just finding some things you can do that are very low impact, but are still very beneficial. Another thing you could do is incorporate mindful movements. And what I mean by mindful movement is just focusing on a particular moment and movement for 5 to 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be intense. Just if you choose an exercise, be mindful about why you're doing it. Be mindful about how you're doing it. Focus on form, focus on your breathing. Those are all mindful movements that'll really help with that mind-body connection. And one of the other ways for your plan B to be successful, right, is to incorporate intentional movements. And what I mean by intentional is moving with a purpose or moving with a goal. When you created your plan A, and even with this plan B, incorporating intentional movements are very important because we're working towards that goal. So if your goal is strength, focus on those strength movements, focus on that form to really improve that strength. And again, that mind-body connection. If you're focused on just moving, having intention, going out for a walk, being mindful of every part of your body that's moving, and keeping that goal always in the back of your mind to really drive home that mind-body connection. So again, those were just a few tips and tricks to keep you on track during the holiday season. And remember, if you don't stay on track, that's all right. Just be flexible, be open with yourself, and forgive yourself, because in the grand scheme of things, 1 or 2 days isn't going to throw you off. I always say one bad session doesn't determine a year's worth of sessions. So just enjoy the time you have with your family, enjoy the holidays, enjoy the ability to move, and from there, you'll have a happy, safe, and healthy holiday season. So with that, I just wish you and your families a happy and safe holidays, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, my name is Dr. Gabrielle Hoover, and I am a staff psychologist at Home Base. I'm going to be talking with you for a few minutes today about managing the holidays when you have goals around stopping or reducing your substance use. When I say substance use, that refers to alcohol or other substances. So first, I want to acknowledge that the holidays can be a really joyful and wonderful time. However, they can also be a really stressful time for a variety of reasons. It could be that particular people in your life are really stressful to be around. It could be that your financial situation is particularly stressful during the holidays, or it could be any number of other reasons. So we're going to be talking about various ways to recognize the way that you may be more likely to reach for substances to manage that stress, and how you can balance goals around substance use with the holidays. So first recommendation would be to avoid high-risk situations during the holiday season. So you have to decide for yourself what a high-risk situation is, and this may be different for each person. It could be that it is a high-risk situation when you have alcohol or other substances available to you in your home, or it could be that a high-risk situation is when you are in a location where other people are drinking or using, or it could be that both are high-risk situations for you. So thinking ahead about your holiday season, take a moment to acknowledge what situations will be high risk for you and consider whether or not you can avoid those. By avoiding them, you reduce the likelihood that you would drink or use in that situation. A couple other examples here are events where other people may pressure you to drink or use, or situations that you would feel a lot of negative emotions or stress, like being around certain people or in a certain location that would increase your urge to drink or use. So it's not always possible to escape high risk or to avoid high risk situations. And so it is important to try to escape high risk situations if you aren't able to avoid them. One option would be to attend the least risky portion of the event. Perhaps that's earlier in the event, before other people have started to drink as much. If you are going into that situation, you would want to make sure that you have a plan for when you'll leave. Identify when that situation will become higher risk for you, and then go ahead and have that plan to leave at that point. Maybe it is when you have a strong urge or craving, or maybe it's after a certain amount of time. You also want to know beyond when you'll leave the event, have a plan for how you'll leave the event. It may be important for you to go with a friend who would leave with you. Sometimes it can be really difficult to keep ourselves on track, and so having somebody else who's supportive of our goals may help us be able to leave a situation that is high risk. We also can make other plans so that we have a reason to leave. So perhaps knowing that you need to be somewhere else that doesn't involve alcohol or other substances might help you to be able to leave when you know that it's important for you to leave. And finally, telling others that you aren't drinking or aren't using can be a helpful way to help yourself leave a situation. If others know that you're not drinking, it may be easier for them to understand your desire to want to leave. And then on the flip side of that, it may be that being alone is actually risky for you. And so in order to escape that high risk situation, you would want to have a plan for how to be around others. And some ideas are that perhaps a community or a religious event would be in a helpful place to be, so that you are around other people and not alone, and perhaps more at risk of drinking at a level that is unhealthy for you. Finally, if you are not able to avoid a high-risk situation or escape a high-risk situation, it can be helpful to distract yourself when you're in a high-risk situation. So what I mean by distract yourself is have another plan for something in your environment to take up space in your head. When you are thinking about drinking or using a substance, it can be really hard not to follow down that path. Not to have that lead to actually drinking or using that substance. And so here you could use a whole bunch of different strategies to help distract yourself from that urge to drink or to use. Some ideas are taking a break, maybe stepping away from the situation, taking a walk, doing something else that helps to interrupt that cycle of your thoughts. You could talk with somebody. So could be that you talk with that other person if they are supportive of you stopping or cutting down your use. Maybe you talk to them about your urges or your cravings to drink or use a substance. However, not all people will be people that you feel comfortable talking to about that. And so perhaps you talk about something else entirely. Just distract yourself with conversation, asking them questions, going to somebody who's going to ask you questions so that you're thinking about talking about things other than substance use. You also could use a skill. An idea here is paced breathing. So slowing down your breath, focusing on breathing out longer than breathing in, using any number of skills that you might use in other settings to be able to manage that high risk situation. And then a couple other ideas here is spending time with a pet. So, if you're at some kind of gathering or if you're alone at home and you're, recognizing that it's a high risk situation, that you aren't able to leave, seeking out time with a pet that's there could be a really great way to distract yourself. You also could watch or play something, watching some YouTube videos that make you laugh, playing a game on your phone, something that distracts your mind from those thoughts about drinking or using a substance. Oftentimes, those kinds of urges will pass in a relatively short period of time. And so you may have a thought about drinking, a thought about using, and then pretty quickly it subsides. However, you need something in the meantime to help you get through that moment. And so distracting yourself with any of these ideas is going to be a way in which you can get through that moment without using. So finally, it is important to plan ahead and seek support. All of these things that I'm introducing today take some amount of planning, right? Recognizing what situations you should avoid, recognizing and having a plan for how to escape a situation if it becomes high risk, and knowing what skills you can use to distract yourself in a high risk situation. And so overall, planning ahead for what you'll need during the holiday season is a really important piece of staying on track with your goals around substance use. Some other things that can really help is to have support. So could be support from friends and family who are in agreement with your recovery goals, whether that's cutting down or stopping completely. Having people in your life who support that can really buoy you in being able to stay on that path. Also, having support from other people who are in recovery can be really helpful. So could be a sponsor, could be a family or friend who is in recovery. Having somebody else in your life who is sharing some of those goals, has some of those experiences, can really make it a lot easier to follow through with your goals, or have a place to turn when you're struggling. And then finally, seeking support from a professional. And this one, I think, is really important ahead of time as well, that, when you're in a crisis, is not going to be an easy time to get that support. And so planning ahead and having support from a counselor, either in a group setting or an individual setting, is going to be really important for a lot of people in terms of managing the holiday season. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video and hope that there were some helpful ideas for you in how you can manage the holidays when you have some goals around stopping or cutting down on your substance use. Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicolette Maggiolo, and I'm one of the registered dietitians at Home Base. I'm really excited to be with you today to share some well wishes for this holiday season, but to also share some thoughts and some reflections as we navigate this holiday season and think about nutrition as a piece of that. So first, I want to wish all of you a very safe and happy and healthy holiday season, whichever way you end up celebrating or sharing in that time. So one of the first things that I like to really emphasize as it relates to nutrition during the holidays is that, half the battle with nutrition is having a positive relationship with food, and the fact that food brings us together and it connects us, it unites us with people around us. It breaks down those barriers, it unites cultures, it unites family and friends around a table. And that is really special. So while how many carbs and grams of protein and fiber and fat we have in our diet throughout the day or throughout the week or throughout the month is something we think about when we talk about good nutrition. Another really important piece is just honoring the fact that food brings us together. And so I encourage all of you to sort of lean into that and focus on that this holiday season. Give yourself a little bit of break if you find yourself kind of hyper-focusing on the carbs and the protein and the fiber and fat. And remember that this other piece of food bringing us together is just as important. One tip that I have, though, is to not fast or avoid eating all day in preparation for a holiday gathering. So sometimes I see this around Thanksgiving or other holidays where we know we're going to have a lot of food around us, a lot of food available to us. And folks tend to say, okay, I'm going to skip breakfast. I'm going to skip lunch. I'm not going to eat anything until that 2:00 early lunch dinner. And that's actually not so helpful, because what it does is it forces our cravings for carbohydrates and large portions of food to be exacerbated, because our body is sort of shifting into this sort of starvation mode where it's being underfueled. And so then those cravings become heightened. And then what happens is when we go to eat and we have all this food around us, it tends to encourage us to overconsume food or feel a little bit more out of control, or eat larger portions than we would have otherwise. So keep your routine, get some movement in throughout the day, but also keep your breakfast, have a breakfast in the morning, or have your lunch that you typically have your mid-morning snack, whatever it is that is your, breakfast or morning routine. I want you to keep that fairly consistent as you go into a holiday gathering or a day of holiday gathering. Now, the next thing that I would like to acknowledge is just the fact that eating around the holidays can increase our level of stress and anxiety around food, especially if you find yourself on the receiving end of comments from other people about your food choices. I'll be the first one to admit that this happens in most people's families or friend groups or just in the world around us, where folks around us may be making comments about what we're eating, how much we're eating, whether or not we want to eat stuff. And not everyone really understands where we are on our own personal nutrition and health journey. So I want you to have some compassion for yourself and also have some compassion for others, because just like not everyone recognizes where we're at in our nutrition journey, we don't always know exactly where everyone else is. It may be helpful to sort of manage your expectations, recognizing that, comments may be made and we may be on the receiving end of comments, whether we like it or not, whether we welcome it or not. And so it could be helpful to sort of have some responses on the ready. If you anticipate Aunt Joe is going to make a comment about this, then there may be something you want to share in reflection back, whether that's, I'm actually really focusing on just my mental and my physical health throughout this holiday season, and I'm not so worried about calories today. It's okay to set some boundaries, and it also can be helpful to find a support. So maybe you're at a holiday gathering and you can have a friend or a family member who you can connect with before and have that kind of in your back pocket. So if someone does make a comment, you can turn to them, kind of give them a little bit of a look and feel a little bit of support during a time where you feel like you're receiving comments you don't necessarily want to receive. And I'd encourage you, lastly, sort of around this stress and eating around the holidays, is to continue to reframe your thinking. Remember that one meal or one holiday gathering is not going to be detrimental to your health. It's not going to be detrimental to your long-term goals. So give yourself some grace, allow yourself to enjoy that time, and give yourself permission to have maybe some of those foods that otherwise you don't really enjoy so much throughout the rest of the year, because you just don't have them around. If you are looking for recipes, feel free to check out our website at homebase.org/nutrition. You'll see there's an entire recipe library with over 100 recipes that may inspire you this holiday season. Everything from soups to dips to desserts to meal items, smoothies. So feel free to check that out and get some inspiration this holiday season. And really, last but not least, I want to wish everyone a very happy and healthy and a safe holiday season. I really do hope to see many of you for our ICP graduate program as it begins in 2022 in the new year, as we talk about all things wellness, whether it's nutrition, exercise, mindful movement, some things around mental health. And take care. We'll see you soon.
Hi, my name is Dr. Gabrielle Hoover, and I am a staff psychologist at Homebase. I will be talking with you for the next few minutes about how you can support your mental health during the holiday season. The holidays are oftentimes a really mixed experience for a lot of people, in that they can be really positive in many ways and then also can be really challenging. And so I'm going to focus on how you can support your mental health in order to enjoy the holidays as much as possible and reduce the negative impact on your mental health. So the first recommendation that I have is that you really want to recognize your stressors. Know the things that are challenging for you about the holidays. For some people, it may be that time with other people, maybe in general, you're not a really social person, perhaps you're more introverted, and so time with other people is challenging. For other people, it could be that time apart from others is really challenging. Having to travel, not being with particular people during the holidays can be really difficult for some people, and maybe it's a combination. You may also struggle with certain holiday pressures, financial pressure, pressure to host others or follow through on certain traditions, or just generally being more social can be really stressful. Finally, being around alcohol or other substances can be a stressor for some people. So taking some time to recognize what is challenging about the holidays for you can help you with these next steps. That awareness is the key first step, because everybody is different and there are going to be different things that are challenging for each person. So once you've identified what your stressors are, the next step would be to make a plan for those stressors. You want to be proactive. Create some plan for how you'll manage those stress levels. Some ideas for things that could be important for this plan would be recognizing when you need to say no and following through on that. Oftentimes we have this feeling that we need to say yes to everybody and everything, and yet that ends up spreading us too thin. And so recognizing when you can say no and following through on that can be really powerful. It also can, similarly, can be really helpful to reduce how much you're giving of yourself. Recognizing the activities that help give you energy and the activities that maybe take energy from you. And being able to balance those two. That may mean prioritizing the things that help you to feel energized. Oftentimes when we are doing things for other people, they tend to take some of our energy, and being able to prioritize the things that help us to feel really good is going to help us have more energy for the other things that might be a little bit more challenging. It is also really important for you to identify what's important about the holidays for you and seek that out. For certain people, it's going to be particular traditions or activities. Maybe it's certain people, certain places, certain foods. So recognize what's important to you and prioritize that. Seek out more time with those people, more of an opportunity to engage in that particular tradition. Really, prioritizing the things that help you to connect with the holiday season and the holiday message. Again, that'll be a way that you can give yourself energy through activities rather than getting stuck in the sense of always giving to others and feeling pretty exhausted yourself. So finally, hopefully you have identified your stressors, you've made a plan for those, and then finally you want to schedule in self-care. So this can be part of your plan for how to manage the stressors, but it also can be something entirely separate. Having a scheduled time to take care of yourself can help you weather all of the ups and downs of the holiday season. So some ideas here are identifying what just in general helps you to manage stress. Some ideas are, having quiet time, exercising, engaging in some kind of mindfulness or meditation practice, or spending time outside. These are some common things that can help people to manage stress. Maybe you have some other wonderful ideas for ways that you manage stress. And so being able to know what works for you and then to schedule that in. So it could be that you spend a small amount of time each day engaging in that activity that helps you to manage stress. Or it could be that you schedule in larger chunks of time, maybe once a week, having a morning to yourself or something like that. But it is important to recognize the strategy that you'll be most likely to follow through with. Or it could be some combination of the two. But finding a time for regularly scheduled self-care. It is really important to prioritize it. It can be really easy to have self-care be the thing that gets pushed aside, right? And we end up prioritizing everything else over it. But when you are maybe tempted to do that, really encourage yourself that when you feel better, then you'll feel more successful in your other roles. When you take care of yourself, you can be a better parent, a better friend, a better family member. And so that self-care time, rather than being selfish, which oftentimes we worry that that's what that time is, it actually can be quite selfless, because when you take that time for yourself, you can show up to your other roles feeling more ready to really be present. And then finally, involve your loved ones. Ask for their support, or maybe even do activities with them. If self-care is being outside, going for a walk, exercising in some way outside, maybe they can join you, or maybe they can help support you. Maybe you need a partner or family member to watch a child so that you can go and engage in that exercise outside. Or maybe the whole family does it, and that's an activity that you've chosen because it's important to you. And so having your loved ones and their support and engaging in that activity can help you be more likely to follow through. Certainly, these ideas are, not an end-all be-all. They are just some ideas for what can help you to really bolster your mental health during the holidays. And I think most importantly would be that you have some kind of sense for what will help you to get through. Thinking about it ahead of time can help you be proactive rather than reactive. We may know a lot more than we give ourselves credit for about what we'll need to prepare for and what will help us to be able to be most successful at navigating these challenges well. So trust yourself that you know a lot about what can be helpful for you. All right, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you learned something helpful, and happy holidays.